The boy who cried wolf and got the whole village killed. The bored kid on the hill. Let me tell you a story. Not the version you read in school. Not the one they watered down for bedtime. This is the real one. The one folks in that village stopped talking about because it still makes their skin crawl. So it starts with this boy. Just a regular kid, really. Maybe 12, maybe 13. Too young to matter to the grown-ups. Too old to be running around chasing bugs. He had a name once, but nobody remembers it now. They just call him the boy who cried wolf. But even that, it doesn't cover what really happened. He lived in this little village, tucked between the hills and the woods. Not much went on there. People worked, slept, and talked about the weather. You had your bakers, your blacksmith, your goat lady who never smiled. You know, the usual characters. And then you had the sheep, hundreds of them, more sheep than people, and somebody had to watch them. Guess who got that job? Yup, the boy. Every morning, while the sun was still stretching, he had to take the sheep up the hill. Not because it was special or anything, just because that's where the grass was, and the grown-ups were too busy to do it themselves. They figured, hey, let the kid do it. He won't mess it up. It's just sheep. So he went, day after day, sat there on a rock watching woolly blobs chew grass. Sometimes they farted. That was the highlight. Now imagine that. You're 12. You've got no phone, no friends around, no games, nothing. Just sheep. Every single day. It messes with your head. So the boy got bored. Like really bored. The kind of bored where your brain starts making up stories just to feel something. At first, he tried talking to the sheep. Didn't work. They just blinked. Then he sang to them. They walked away. Finally, one day, while staring at a cloud that looked like a goat's butt, he had an idea. What if, he thought, I make something happen? And just like that, he stood up, cupped his hands around his mouth, and shouted, "Wolf! There's a wolf!" It echoed down the hill, bounced off the trees, rolled right into the village. And man, did people run. Farmers dropped tools. The baker ran out with flour still on his face. Even the grumpy goat lady came sprinting, holding a broom like a sword. They charged up the hill like heroes in some epic story, ready to fight, to protect, to save the sheep. And what did they find? Nothing. Just a boy, laughing his head off, rolling in the grass, pointing at their faces. Some of them laughed, too, kinda awkward-like. Others didn't. One guy muttered something about wasting his time and stomped back. The goat lady just narrowed her eyes and walked off, her broom dragging behind her. The boy wiped a tear from his cheek and thought, that was the best day ever. He figured he'd just made the village a little more exciting. No harm done, right? Except, it didn't stop there. The second time he did it, he didn't even think twice. It was maybe 3 days later. Same hill, same sheep, same nothing-happening day. The clouds looked like mashed potatoes this time. The wind was quiet. Not even the birds were making noise. That's how dull it was. So the boy stood up again, hands around his mouth like a trumpet, and shouted louder than before, "Wolf! Wolf!" And just like before, the village snapped awake like it had been punched in the nose. People dropped everything. They ran. Some had pitchforks this time. One guy brought his dog. A group of kids followed, hoping to catch a glimpse of something wild. Even the village elder showed up this time, leaning heavy on his cane, muttering about ancient omens and signs from the sky. It was chaos. But when they reached the hill, all they saw was the same old scene, peaceful sheep, soft grass, and a boy laughing so hard he couldn't breathe. He fell over. He wheezed. He said, "You should have seen your faces." And yeah, some laughed again. A couple shook their heads, grumbling. But the elder didn't smile. He pulled the boy aside, looked him right in the eyes, and said something low and quiet. No one heard what he said, but the boy didn't look so smug afterward. At least not for a little while. But boredom is a powerful thing, and attention is even worse. See, the first time was funny, The second time was louder, crazier. It gave the boy something he hadn't had before: power. When he shouted, people moved. Grown-ups, important ones, dropped their work just to listen to him. He liked that. He liked it a lot. So it became a thing, once a week at first, then every couple days. "Wolf!" he'd yell, like it was a game, and every time they came. Not all of them after a while. Some got tired, some stopped halfway up the hill and just turned back. But enough still ran, enough still believed. And that was enough for the boy. But belief is a weird thing. It's like a rope. Strong at first, but every time you pull it and twist it, little by little, it starts to fray. And one day, it snaps. That day came faster than the boy expected. Because one morning, he didn't shout for fun. He didn't yell because he was bored. This time, he saw it. The sky was still pale and blue. The sheep were grazing like always. The boy was lying in the grass, chewing on a piece of hay, staring at the clouds and wondering if he could trick the villagers into bringing snacks next time. And then he heard it, not loud, just a soft crunch, like a branch underfoot. He sat up, looked around, nothing. Then another sound, a low growl, carried on the wind. His heart skipped. He stood, scanning the edge of the forest. That's when he saw the eyes, yellow, cold, watching. There was a shadow between the trees, big, not moving, just staring. Then another, then another. They stepped out, 3 of them, wolves, real ones, bigger than he'd ever imagined. Not cartoons, not stories, real muscle, real fur, real teeth. He froze. His mouth went dry. For a second, his brain didn't know what to do. Then instinct kicked in. He ran to the top of the hill, stumbled over a rock, got back up and screamed, "Wolf! Please! Wolf!" But the sound didn't bounce the same way it used to. It fell flat. The wind didn't carry it, or maybe it did, but no one came. He screamed again, louder. "There's a wolf! Please, help!" He waved his arms, jumped up and down. Nothing. Down in the village, people heard him. They did. But you know what they did? They shrugged. One man rolled his eyes. Another said, "He's at it again." The goat lady shook her head and muttered, "Let him have his fun." Even the elder just sat on his bench, looking tired. Nobody moved. Not a single footstep toward the hill. Back up there, the wolves were moving now. They weren't rushing, just walking slow, confident, like they knew they had time. The sheep noticed. They bleated nervously. Some tried to run, but the wolves cut them off, circling. The boy panicked. He grabbed a stick, waved it around like it would do anything. He yelled until his throat hurt. His voice cracked. His eyes stung. "Please, I'm not lying." But the hill stayed empty. The path stayed quiet. The first sheep went down fast. No noise, just a blur of fur and snapping jaws. Then another. The rest scattered, and the wolves chased them like it was a game. The boy tried to stop them, threw rocks, screamed. One wolf looked at him, just looked, didn't growl, didn't charge, just stared as if saying, "You did this." Eventually they left, didn't even bother with him. They had enough to eat, enough to scare. The boy dropped to his knees. He stared at the ground, hands shaking, legs numb. And for the first time, he didn't feel like the center of anything. He felt small, like a speck, like the sheep. He sat there for hours. Sun moved across the sky. Shadows stretched. Finally, he walked down. Not ran, just walked, slow and quiet, into the village. When people saw him, they didn't say much. They looked behind him. No wolves, no sheep either. Just a boy with nothing in his hands and a blank look in his eyes. "What now?" someone asked. He didn't answer. "What happened?" Still nothing. Then he said, barely a whisper, "They're gone." Someone asked, "Gone where?" He looked up, eyes red, face pale. Gone, all of them. That was the first time they believed him in weeks, and it was the last time he ever spoke about wolves. But that should have been the end of it, right? It wasn't. Because what came next wasn't about sheep anymore. It was about the village. And it was already too late. The village didn't sleep that night. Not really. Doors were locked, candles burned low, and eyes peeked through shutters, watching shadows. Even the goats were brought inside. Nobody said it out loud, but the fear had cracked open again. That deep, crawling kind of fear that whispers in your ear, "What if?" The elder stayed up the longest, sitting in the square, his cane across his lap. He didn't say much, but his eyes didn't blink much either. People came to him, whispered questions. "You think they'll come back? Was it really wolves this time? What if the boys cursed us?" The old man just stared at the moon, said one thing: "This is only the beginning." The next morning, they found the first track. Huge paw prints sunk deep into the mud by the well, claw marks on the side of the butcher's wall. The chickens were gone. Feathers everywhere. No blood, no sound, just vanished. That got everyone moving. By midday, a group of men were sharpening tools, making torches, hammering nails into boards like that would stop a hungry mouth. Someone even painted a big red X on the boy's front door. His parents tried to scrub it off, but it came back. Every time. Someone just kept painting it again. The boy stayed inside. He didn't speak, didn't eat much, didn't go near the hill. He just sat by the window, looking out like he was waiting for something. People walked by his house like it was cursed. They didn't throw rocks, not yet, but the look said enough. Then came the third night. No moon. Just black. Cold wind that didn't belong in that season. It howled through the cracks, like it was crawling through the air, hunting for something. And then, just before midnight, the bell rang. The old iron bell that only rang when someone died or something terrible happened. It rang 3 times, long and slow. People grabbed anything they could, sticks, pots, even soup spoons, and ran to the square. The elder was already there. So was the baker, the blacksmith, the goat lady, and almost everyone else. But not the boy, and not the man who owned the chickens. They found his door wide open, floor scratched. No blood, just drag marks, like something heavy had been pulled through dirt. A single boot was left behind. That was all. The whispers weren't whispers anymore. People started shouting, blaming, pointing. "It's the boy's fault! He brought them here. He lied too many times. Now we pay the price." The crowd swelled like a storm, faces tight, eyes sharp, hearts pounding with fear and fire. They marched to the boy's house. They didn't knock. They broke the door down. His parents tried to stop them, but they were pushed aside. The elder stood back, watching with that same dead stare. They grabbed the boy, dragged him into the square. He didn't fight. He didn't cry, just stared at them, hollow. "What did you do?" someone yelled. "Where are they hiding?" another one shouted. The boy just whispered, "I told the truth." Someone slapped him. "I told the truth," he said again, louder this time. The crowd didn't care. Truth wasn't good enough anymore. They needed something to blame. They needed blood. But just as someone raised a fist to hit him again, the bell rang. By itself. No one was near it. The rope swung on its own, 4 times, then silence. Everyone turned, and that's when they heard it. Not a howl, not a growl, laughter, not human, not animal, something in between. It came from the woods, from the edge of the village. From everywhere, the wind died. The torches flickered, then screams. Not from the square, from the outer houses, the edge homes. One by one, lights blinked out, shouting, crashing, then silence, then another house, and another. They were coming in, not rushing, just like before. Slow, confident, hungry. The villagers panicked, ran in all directions. Some tried to fight, others froze. The boy's mother pulled him close, tried to hide him behind the old chapel. But it didn't matter. The wolves weren't hunting at random. They moved like they knew the map, like they'd been watching for years. And this time, it wasn't just 3. It was more. 10, maybe 15. Some swore they saw eyes glowing in trees, shadows that didn't walk like animals, things that shouldn't move like that. The boy watched it all, frozen, shaking. He remembered every lie he told, every fake scream, every time they came running for nothing. Now no one was coming. No one could help. Not even the elder who stood at the chapel doors, arms open like he was welcoming them. He didn't scream. He didn't run. He just looked up and said, "We were warned." They dragged him into the dark. The boy ran. Through alleys, over fences, past houses now burning. The sky lit up red. The village wasn't a village anymore. It was a graveyard that just hadn't finished its work yet. He found the hill, climbed it, fell, got up, climbed more. At the top, he turned and looked. Smoke rising, flames dancing, howls echoing through the trees. And behind it all, silence. The sheep weren't there anymore. The people weren't either, just him and the wind. He didn't cry, didn't scream. He sat down, cross-legged, hands in his lap, and waited. Not because he had a plan, but because there was nothing left to do. The boy who cried wolf had finally told the truth. And now, the wolves had answered. He stayed up there all night, didn't move, didn't sleep, just sat on that hill with the wind whispering in his ears and smoke curling up toward the stars. The village behind him was still smoldering, glowing orange and red like dying coals. Somewhere down there were voices, soft ones. Not screams anymore, not footsteps, just murmurs. Or maybe it was the wind messing with his head. Either way, he didn't go back. He couldn't. His clothes were torn, face crusted with soot and tears, hands raw from climbing. He didn't even feel the pain. All he felt was empty. Not like hunger, not like loneliness. Just gone. Like he'd been hollowed out from the inside and left to echo. Morning didn't help. The sun came up like it always did, soft, golden, pretending everything was fine. Birds chirped, the grass waved. But the boy knew better. Nature doesn't care about what happens to people. It just moves on. By noon, he finally stood. Not because he wanted to, just because his legs stopped listening to the rest of him and decided to stand anyway. He looked down at what used to be his world, the bakery, the blacksmith's forge, the goat pens, all blackened and cracked. The chapel was still standing, but its doors were ripped off and the windows shattered like broken eyes staring up at the sky. He started walking, not fast, just one foot, then the other. Past the path where he used to shout, "Wolf!" like it was a game. Past the rock he always sat on. Past the tree he once carved his name into. The letters were still there. Barely. Faded and scratched. Just like everything else. When he reached the edge of the village, he stopped. Smoke clung to the ground like fog. It smelled like ash and burned wood and something worse that he didn't want to name. The silence was heavier here. Not quiet. Heavy. Like it was sitting on his chest, making every breath feel like work. Some houses still stood crooked and half-burnt. Others were just piles of stone and char. He didn't see anyone. No people, no movement, no goats, not even the cat that used to sleep on the bakery windowsill. Gone. But then, a sound. Not a growl. Not a scream. A cough. He turned fast, heart punching inside his chest. And there she was, the goat lady, alive, barely. Sitting against a wall, one leg twisted wrong, blood dried across her face, but breathing, staring right at him. He ran to her, dropped to his knees, tried to speak, but his voice cracked. She looked at him like she was seeing a ghost. "You," she rasped. "I'm sorry," he said. It came out like a whisper. She didn't blink, didn't smile, just coughed again and said, "Too late for that." He nodded. He knew. She pointed with a shaking hand toward the well. "They're still here." He didn't ask what she meant. He didn't want to know. She pulled something out of her coat, a small metal whistle, old and bent. "They come when this blows," she said. That's how he called them. He took it with shaking hands. "Who?" She didn't answer. Her eyes closed, and she was gone. He sat there a long time, holding the whistle, feeling its weight like it was made of stone. Then, for no reason he could explain, he blew it. Software. Just one note, and then the air shifted. The sky dimmed even though the sun was still up. And out of the shadows came movement, not fast, not loud, but sure. From the edges of the trees, from behind broken walls, from holes in the earth, they came. Wolves, not dozens, hundreds, big ones, small ones. Eyes like fire, fur like smoke, silent paws and dripping mouths. They circled him, didn't pounce, didn't growl, just stood, watching, like they were waiting. And then he saw him, not a wolf, a man. Old, but strong, pale eyes, cloak made of patchy fur dragging behind him like a tail. He walked through the wolves like he was their king. He stopped in front of the boy. "You called," the man said. The boy nodded. "You fed us once," the man said, "with lies." The boy didn't speak. "Now you feed us with truth, and that's worth more." The boy finally asked, "What are you?" The man smiled. Not warm, not evil, just knowing. "We're what comes when stories die." The boy looked at the whistle in his hand. "Why did they come?" "Because you asked them to, again and again, and no one listened. That's how doors open." The boy looked around. The wolves were still silent, still watching. "What happens now?" he asked. "That depends," the man said. "Do you want them to leave?" The boy thought about it. Thought about the village, the people, the fire, the screams, his voice echoing across the hill and no one coming. The first sheep, the elder's last words, the goat lady's broken voice, the silence. He looked at the wolves, and he said, "No." The man nodded. "Good." And just like that, the wolves turned, walked past him, out of the ruins, into the trees, into the world, not in a rush, just spreading, like a story retold. And the boy? He stayed, on the hill, alone, whistle in hand, watching, waiting, because now he wasn't just a boy anymore. He was the warning, the one parents whispered about when kids lied, the one carved into the village ruins like a ghost, the one who cried wolf and meant it. The village was never rebuilt. No one came to fix the houses. No one came looking for survivors. The road that led to it, it faded like it never existed. Trees grew over it. Rain washed the rest away. Eventually, even the maps forgot that a village ever stood there. But stories remember things long after people forget. And they started telling one, quietly at first, just in whispers, told around fires or in back rooms when kids got too loud. It always started the same way. Once there was a boy who cried wolf. But the version they told wasn't the clean, friendly kind with a moral at the end. Nah, this one was different, darker. They said he didn't just lie for fun. He summoned something, that his voice cracked a hole in the world, that when you cry out enough times, something will always answer. The only question is what? Kids would shiver when they heard it. Some laughed, tried to be brave, said it was just a story, but they never forgot it. Not really. Because every now and then, in a quiet town or a sleepy village far away, something strange would happen. A few animals go missing, tracks found in the mud, a shadow spotted near the edge of the woods that didn't quite look like a dog, always followed by a sound, a howl, soft and far away, like it came from a dream. Then silence. And that's when they remembered the story. The boy, the hill, the whistle. People say he's still there, still watching, still waiting. They say he doesn't age, that the fire didn't touch him, that something changed in him the night the wolves came, not just outside, but inside. Like his heart turned to ash and grew back with claws. Some say they've seen him, just a glimpse, a figure standing on a hill at sunset. No sheep, no movement, just staring. And if you look too long, if you don't turn away, you'll hear it. Not his voice, not the whistle, the wolves. And they don't come for sheep anymore, they come for liars. For people who twist truth like it's a toy, who laugh while others panic, who think the world is a joke and no one's listening, because someone always is. They say the boy doesn't speak anymore, doesn't need to. His silence is louder than screams now. His eyes carry every lie ever told to his face. And when you meet them, even just once, you'll never lie the same way again. One village, gone. Because of a game. Because of boredom. Because a kid wanted to be heard more than he wanted to be honest. And yeah, maybe it wasn't fair. Maybe he didn't deserve all that. But truth doesn't care about fair. And stories, they don't care about heroes. They care about warnings. So if you ever hear a cry in the distance, and it sounds too loud, too perfect, too rehearsed, think twice. If you ever feel like joking about danger, about fear, just to see people squirm, remember that somewhere out there, in a place that's not on any map, there's a boy who cried wolf, and the wolves listened, and they're still listening, waiting for the next voice that calls to them, not because it's true, but because it's loud enough, because once upon a time, someone opened a door they couldn't close. And now it's always open, just a crack. And if you press your ear to the dark and listen real careful, you'll hear breathing. Not yours, not human. And if you blow a whistle, even by accident, just pray no one answers. Subscribe to Uncle Luke Tells if you want more stories that don't play nice, don't play safe, and don't let you sleep easy. Because legends aren't just old. Some are still walking, and some still have teeth.